I begin thumbing through my starter card bin for a warm-up project to get me going. This is where I keep partially done cards that still need finishing. I find a card front that I had worked on previously. It's not a card yet. I need to mount it. Oh, too much white. So I pull out my thumb daubers and a soft pink ink to tone around the edges of the card base. That works, so I'm ready to mount it. A fancy and romantic front. Then I realized the inside is far too plain for such a fancy card front. We'll make a pink cloud around the edges, but that's not enough. I picked up this set at Habitat for Humanity for $3. We all know crafters collect more supplies than they use, and eventually they get donated in such places. As a crafter myself, I am also guilty of collecting far more than I use, but I will use them someday. So with a darker shade of pink, I begin stamping ferns and leaves to add a flair of romanticism to the inside of the card, focusing mainly on the left side. It's the mood I'm going for. Ah, so much nicer. Now the feeling of the lovely front spills over into the inside of the card, and I even added the sentiment. This card is now complete and will go into my file of completed cards. Now I'm in the mood for crafting more cards. This was just a warm-up exercise. As a new month comes around, it's time to get my cards ready for the month. I usually begin by looking through my starter cards to see what I can find for the upcoming birthdays and anniversaries or other events among my family and friends that I have on my list. So this means I usually spend one session a month making my cards because I have a whole lot of other things to do. I can't make cards every day, but I want to remember the people that I value in my life. I make a short list in the order that they need to be sent out. My starter card bin has a collection of somewhat started cards that have a color theme or a background design, but usually without any sentiments or embellishments. Sometimes when I feel like playing with paper, I might sit down and pull some out and embellish them, but I usually leave the sentiment and inside message until I know exactly who the card is going to, so that I can make a personalized card fitting for them and the occasion. Here's how I finished off this card. Once a card is complete, I check it off my list. Now, this blue card turned out nice. I rather like it. I've sent out a couple of this design. It's sort of a neutral design, not too feminine or frilly, and it works well for a guy. So I thought I would like to make more just like this for future use. So I do just that because I tend to make cards in bulk. I don't just sit down and make one card. I usually make, I don't know, a half a dozen or more cards. When I come up with a design idea, I usually make several of them at the same time to add to my starter bin. And that's what I intend to do today. I begin by selecting 2 coordinating papers from my 6x6 paper collection. I plan to place these card fronts on white bases, so I cut my cardstock in half, making 2 cards out of 1 full sheet. From my 6x6 papers, I know that I will get at least 2 cards from each color selection. I usually do a stack of them. I fold my white card bases. I like to combine the 2 coordinating papers on each card. The colors were so light on these 2 prints that I decided to add a touch more blue. So I pulled a strip from my strip bin and cut it in two. I cut the papers, the 6 by 6 inch papers, I cut them 4-inch wide. Then from the 4-inch wide, I cut 2.5-inch length for the top piece, 1.5-inch for the center, and 1 inch for the bottom band. The two cards made from the same papers are just the opposite of each other, same but different. I do this for each of the colors. The basic cards could at this point be tossed into my starter bin. At this point, after all, they're starter cards, right? To be finished later. But I'm in the mood for more crafting, so I will continue. I'm going to use from this old stamp and die set called Eastern Beauty from Stampin' Up. It's probably no longer available. I mark my stamp set with a green dot if I have packaged the dies inside with the stamp set. Like I said, it's several years old. They're always changing their stock. I like its large size, but you could use whatever die and stamp set you have that of comparable size. All my other dies are just in a bin with just dies. After cutting the die, I remove all the little parts. Some of those parts are stubborn, so I have to use my little quilting pin to poke those out. I place the colored design on a white cutout circle that I cut from another die cut set, also from Stampin' Up, but you could get a circle die cut from Amazon or any other place. It looks nice placed on the lower bands, leaving enough room for my large sentiment. And my sentiments, I purchased them from Amazon. With the blue card being my inspiration, here is what I've created thus far using the same design. On this one card, I decided to make a smaller sentiment. With this card, I used those tiny offcut pieces to create this medallion. The stamp itself is also from the same set, Eastern Beauty, from Stampin' Up. You're not limited to doing the cards all the exact same way. I started experimenting with other embellishments. I decided to add a spot of color to the black and white neutral colors. I had this ephemera rose that I had printed from a digital download that I had purchased online. I thought the red rose would look nice against the black and white background. I also had this gold frame pre-cut. I had planned on using it on a previous project, but it didn't work out, so now I have found a use for it. You know, I never throw anything away. I save everything. I thought the gold would be a nice offset from the red. But I needed to do a little bit of fussy cutting to remove as much of the white as possible around the image. Yes, I like it. Very elegant card. I guess this one is for a lady. It's still a circle, just a tad smaller than my original design. It works. In digging through my pre-colored embellishments, I found this basket. That looks nice there too. Then I found this piece of ephemera with a color scheme that works well with the papers. This would be a good card for a child's birthday. I do have 14 grandchildren. See, you can use whatever you have. And then I started pulling out some of my own artwork that I had downsized. It could make a nice birthday card for a child. The cow is also one of my own artworks that I sized down. It would make a great birthday card for a friend of mine who owns cows. He would like it. I sold the original painting to a guy on Facebook. I'm no longer on social media except Instagram. I have learned that I hate scrolling. I find it the most annoying thing. Besides, I have far too much to keep me busy than wasting my time on social media. Back to this card. Since I already have the sentiment, I needed to add a little more decoration. The card is a little too plain. I picked up this cute and simple little stamp and die set from Habitat for Humanity, real cheap. I guess the person who bought it never used it. They must have had it for a long time, or perhaps it was left out in a hot car because when I tried to peel the stamp from the cardboard backing, it wouldn't come clean. The paper backing was sticking to it. So I'm going to show you how to solve that problem if this should ever happen to you. I soaked the stamps in water for a while until I could rub the paper off the backing. Of course, you know, I threw that cardboard backing away. I'm not going to put it back on it. The set came in a nice plastic container, and that's all it needs. I colored the cute little penguin with markers. I gave him a little blue bow tie to go with the card. I have a grandson whose birthday is in January, so this card would be a good card for him. I added some snowflakes, and now it's finished. I hope this gives you some inspiration for some of your own ideas. So here are the cards from my once-a-month card-making session. The blue card started me off. Here, I used a pen to add a little bit of shadow to help the letters pop against the lighter background. I think contrast is important. Most of them are basically the same. Now for the ones that are a bit different. A cute, almost wintry card for a child. This one just spelled thank you, so that's what it became. And this one seemed like a sympathy card. For this card, I didn't want to use a large sentiment since the layout is different. So I used a small stamp and a touch of color. For your information, I drew this with colored pencil. I made 15 cards today to add to my starter cards. Actually 14 because the original blue card had already been made. Now my starter bin has been restocked. I could still use more cards, but I'll tackle that another day. Perhaps next month when I sit down to do the next month's cards. For your information, the stamp set I used for this card is from Stampin' Up. So are the papers. When my monthly cards are done, of course, put them in an envelope and sign and address them, and then they go on my table to be mailed or hand-delivered at the right time. My computer reminds me of the dates of the upcoming date, so I will know when to send them out. I give myself at least a week's notice. So this is how I fit card making into my very busy workload. Happy card making. Thanks for watching.